Steffi gave our panel a very dramatic title, actually, with Earth, Wind, and Fire. And the topic we want to talk about today is actually pretty dramatic as well. And so I just wanted to share 2 data points with you to get us started. The first is the last 3 months have been the hottest ever on Earth. Since the Earth monitoring programs basically they just published this data this morning. It has been the hottest 3 months for 120,000 years. So that's the first data point I think I wanted to share. And I think it puts our panel also in a good perspective. The second is, and Axel, you shared this data point with me in our prep. The wildfires, and we all remember the dramatic wildfires in Hawaii and also in Greece. We just heard about sort of the Amazonas. Those wildfires are responsible for 20% of the carbon emission worldwide. It's another pretty significant number. And today I think we also talked, obviously heard a lot of, there was a lot of talk about sort of the linear economy and that actually consuming less, sacrificing is actually not the solution to the huge problems we face. Hence, I'm very much looking forward to our panel today because all 3 gentlemen on the stage are actually tackling our problems with technology and creative innovation. So I have David on stage from Ocell, Aron from Bloom & Wild, and Axel from OroraTech. Please introduce yourself a little bit. And then we talk about sort of technology and how we can tackle our issues. Cool. David, why don't you start?
Sure, thank you, Christian. My name is David Dohmen. I'm co-founder and co-CEO of Ocell, where we digitize the forestry sector because the forestry is actually an industry and it needs better understanding, better data to prevent mistakes, prevent wildfires or bark beetles, and manage their forests in a more efficient way. But also we want to drive their behavior into a more circular, long-term way of forest management.
Yeah. Aron.
Hi, thanks for having me, Christian. My name's Aron Gelbard. I'm co-founder and CEO of Bloom & Wild Group. We are Europe's largest direct-to-consumer flower business, and we have 3 brands, Bloom & Wild, Bloom On, and Bergamot. We are trying not only to be Europe's leading direct-to-consumer flower business, but also Europe's most sustainable business in this category, and have been working hard as part of our legal net zero commitments that we've signed up to on reducing waste, increasing circularity, and redesigning the supply chain versus industry norms. And I'll go into more detail in a bit.
Axel.
Yes, my name is Axel Roenneke. I'm from OroraTech, and we at OroraTech, we help our customers stay in control of wildfires by measuring the Earth's temperature from space. And one other aspect that you didn't mention was that there's actually a vicious cycle because climate change is drying out our forests. So wildfires becoming worse and worse every year and more dramatic. We help our customers from the utility business, from the energy, from the forestry and commercial as well as government to maintain situational awareness. And this will help reduce the CO2 contribution dramatically.
Good. Aron, why don't we start with you? So obviously online flower delivery, which is sort of your core business, is clearly, when you look at it at the first glance, not the most sort of carbon-friendly thing to do and business to be in. But I have to say, when you look and when we look what you actually did, and I think the impressive thing that Aron and his team did is really turning every stone, turning every screw of your supply chain to get to basic carbon neutrality, which is a pretty impressive thing, and maybe you just share us how you have achieved it. And I think it's a great example of of what you can achieve when you basically just when you're committed to do it.
Yeah, completely agree. And a number of people who are speaking here today are businesses that sort of exist for sustainability, and I massively applaud people who do that. A lot of us run businesses where that's not our raison d'etre, but I think the responsibility for us to still run businesses in ways that are different to how they'd have been run in the past is just as big a part of the solution as people that are designing sustainability-specific businesses. So let me talk about some of the steps that we've taken, and hopefully they're useful to other folks running more like regular businesses, for want of a better term. The first thing that we seek to do, and this is consistent with waste hierarchy principles, is to reduce waste to begin with. Industry waste in the flower industry is typically 40% because flowers pass through 5 or 6 middlemen between being cut in a field somewhere and reaching an end consumer. By redesigning our supply chain so that we build relationships with hundreds of growers around the world and source directly with them, we reduce that by 4 to 5x. And we have built not only software but also AI to predictively balance supply with demand in order to continually reduce down that wastage. Once we've done that, we then need to try and reduce the carbon footprint of the flowers that we are selling, because obviously there are still some, even after we've reduced the wastage. And we think about this across 3 steps of our supply chain: where the flowers are grown, how they're shipped from where they're grown to our bouquet making centers, which is the only step between farm and consumer for us, and then how they get from bouquet making center to the end consumer. For that first step, we seek to avoid fossil fuel heated greenhouses and instead to always grow in a natural environment for the stem in question, which drives an average 6x reduction in carbon. For the second step, we seek to use sea freight rather than air freight wherever we can, which is a super interesting technology. We cool flowers at the farm. We reduce down oxygen in their containers, and then they can be shipped and last for the end consumer. That drives a further 10 to 20x reduction depending on the stem. And finally, we've innovated a physically smaller packaging type, so people receive unarranged flowers and arrange them themselves. This means that our product is about 1/5 as voluminous as an average product in our industry. So across all of these steps, we've taken day-to-day business model design decisions to reduce down footprint. There are things that we can do at a top-down level to help here. One is giving our bouquet designers carbon budgets as well as monetary budgets, and having technology to automatically track this and source up-to-date data from our growing partners. This has massively helped with our need to reduce carbon by 7% per year as part of our annual path to net zero. And also we've given the theme today is circular, we've tried to think about how we can make our product itself circular, which sounds a little weird for flowers, but that can vary from replantable Christmas trees, which we sell about 100,000 of every year, through to flower stems like tulips, which we send with bulbs on so consumers can replant them after they've enjoyed them. So lots of ways that we can make a difference.
Thank you, Aron. I think it's remarkable and impressive what you can do with a traditional business, right? As you said, there are many sustainable businesses in the sustainability sector, but turning a traditional business into almost carbon neutrality is impressive. David, I think you are also a good sort of bridge to our tomorrow's DLD. You use a lot of AI also in your approach to making forestry much more efficient.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So forestry is very interesting in terms of the threat that is suffering from climate change. So forests are really, OroraTech knows that. A lot of forests are burning down, suffering quite a lot from all this heat, but at the same time, they are the best weapons we have against climate change. So there's a lot of reason to help the whole sector out. And my co-founders and I, we are engineers. We have no background in forestry whatsoever. So when we entered this field and talked to the first forest managers and slowly start to understand the issues and needs in this sector, we quickly realized that there's this huge lack of data and software efficiency, right? It is a very professional and experienced industry, forestry. There's a lot of knowledge, in-depth knowledge you need. A forest is a very complex ecosystem, and to manage that in a good way, the sector has accrued a lot of know-how over the centuries. But in terms of digitization and using software or modern tools, data, AI, they didn't have the innovation power to innovate from the inside. So that's why it's very helpful, and there are more and more startups like us showing up in the field and giving them solutions. In our case, that is, on one hand, holistic management software, which allows all stakeholders in forestry. So there's not just one forester, there are woodworkers, there's the head of forestry in the office, there are external service providers, there are many people involved, and they all have to understand this very complex geospatial system of a forest, interact and exchange data and information, plan workflows together, and all that has happened pretty much on a pen and paper basis in the past. So first of all, providing them with a software so they can communicate more efficiently and avoid costly mistakes, such as if you find a bark beetle, it has to be removed right away from the forest. You can't leave it in there, otherwise the young will spread out and more trees will die. You have to act quickly. And of course, a good software and a good communication within the company is key to that. So this is one side, first of all, understanding what are all the employees doing, what are the workflows, what do we have to do. But then, of course, you also want to know more about your asset forest in the first place. For us, that means we fly over a forest. Actually, we record high-quality aerial imagery. We're not using satellite data, we're using airplane data, ultralight, ultra-efficient aircraft, which fly over the forest, take these extremely high pictures, which we can then combine into a 3D model of the forest, which gives us all the knowledge about the height, and we can detect every single individual tree, classify them thanks to AI, and you know, there's this German saying, you can see the forest due to all the trees. Pretty much from top down, you see all of them, and you have the whole picture, right? But it's not just the top down, you need both sides. You need to know what's going on in the forest, thanks to the software, thanks to all the employees working there day in, day out, and the top down perspective. And this holistic picture is really driving efficiency in the field. And then for us, a really important driving mission from the very beginning is, it's kind of sad that these people only make money by harvesting wood, right? They have to chop down trees, which are in their best age. They're carbon-sinking machines, but these people need to make money, so they have to harvest wood, and it's a shame, because we need to draw CO2 from the atmosphere. So a forest can also be turned into a more carbon-driven optimum, where instead of creating wood, you create more carbon storage. And you need an incentive to do that, and that's carbon credits. And of course, high-quality carbon credits need high-quality underlying data and AI to be credible and trustworthy. No.
Good. So then, from the from the Earth to the aerial pictures you take from airplanes. Axel, my understanding is you use also data from the space, right? So
yes, we do.
We get one level further up. Tell us a little bit how you use the space data and pictures, and how you are capable to predict wildfires and prevent them.
Well, first of all, I think to understand the dimension of the problem, this year alone in Canada, the size of the entire country of Hungary has so far burned down, 100,000 square kilometers. Our customer in Quebec, the government agency, a few weeks ago, they were fighting 250 parallel fires on a surface 3 times the size of Germany. So this gives you the understanding on why situational awareness in this problem is key. If you have limited resources and you can only dispatch them once to do the right thing. And this situational awareness is not given by traditional means like watchtowers or airplane spotters. This can only be done from space, where you can have a global overview, where we have large coverage, and where you can also, by means of good imagery, infrared imagery, spot fires of the size of one single tree from space. And you can also manage to understand what the fire will be doing. And so what we're basically doing is we have the technology step forward that we have taken is there's currently we use public satellites, big 1-ton satellites, millions of euros, and there's only 20 or so on the entire planet, and we integrate them in our platform, and we already serve our customers. What we have been starting to do over the past 2 years is starting our own set of satellites, own sensor system that will double the size of these numbers of sensors within the next 2 years. And the technology step forward is basically that our cameras, they fit on a shoebox-sized satellite. And this is like like your phone. The image is not done by the optics, it's done by the software. So super resolution, smart filtering is what you can actually get to a resolution that compares to the best what the US NOAA agency is currently flying. And then the algorithms behind are actually giving our customers the way to get an overview, but also to understand fire risk, meaning where fires will start and also where they will go. And also to have an assessment of which areas have already been damaged and to plan restoration. So this is the typical forestry government customer. Utility customers are super interested in better risk prediction, and we have now seen this through this tragic event in Hawaii, that utility companies, they need to cut vegetation and they need to know where. And they also need to simulate fires in order to see that it's not, if a fire breaks out, it's not actually addressing a power line, or if a power line is turned over by a storm, the fire doesn't start to become dramatic. So these are the kind of applications we can do with our sensor system and our proprietary data, and this is what we're going to do now in the next 2 years to roll out our proprietary system.
And Axel, do you think a wildfire like in Hawaii could have been prevented by technology, or is there in the future, is it possible?
Well, I don't know exactly what the root cause in Hawaii is, but we know from our we work with grid line operators. They are super keen on knowing exactly which trees would become dangerous in order to burn their overland power lines. For example, in South America, we have customers that are exactly addressing this problem. And the reverse is true as well. If you have PG&E actually went bankrupt over liability suits a couple of years ago because they did not do the vegetation management correctly. So I don't know exactly what the reason in Hawaii was, but if companies are using tools that can actually help them reduce fuel on the ground and do the right vegetation management, that will definitely reduce the risk like the ones we have seen in Hawaii.
Brilliant. I think the space industry is certainly making a big, it's clearly today, we talk more about sort of telecommunications and other sort of use cases, but I think it will be a big contributor to reducing carbon emission and on Earth going forward. Absolutely. We were very proud, actually, when the governor of the province of Quebec went, he was briefed on our tool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we have a couple of minutes left. Maybe each one of you. It's just why don't you elaborate a little bit on what's sort of the next for you guys?
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about dire topics today, but in generally, I'm a very positive, outlooking person, and I think with technology we can bring so many solutions, like preventing wildfires, like the ones in Lahaina, and better management to prevent similar things in Europe as well. And at the same time, it's a huge chance to become better and move into a new way. So I would just love to stop with a positive note. We can get there.
Aron, what's next for you on your journey?
I think from this perspective, we've had other examples where we've initially created something for our own purposes, and then we've found a way of making it an industry norm and rolling it out. We've done this with totally off topic for today, with things like marketing preferences and setting new standards of how customers can manage those, and we can be more sensitive. And I think as we become the first people in our industry to have a database and technology to manage or to understand and therefore manage carbon footprint in the flower industry, this is a tool that we will look to commercialize or maybe give away to others in our industry, so that we're not only getting ahead of others, but also trying to transform industry norms. And I think that's a really interesting step.
Good. And Axel, what's next for you?
Taking the industry to the 21st century. Firefighters are a resilient organization. They have their processes, use technology that will help them to get better. Forestry, utility companies, insurance companies actually use technology of the 21st century.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to Munich, guys, and for
Thanks
your
for having us.
contribution. Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.